Ever get that feeling like someone's online persona, the one they project, is maybe hiding a whole other story underneath?
Oh, absolutely, like the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And today, we are diving deep, going under the surface with Hasan Piker. Hassan Abi, the streamer, the political commentator.
And where better to dig for those hidden depths than Kiwi Farms, right?
Yeah, Kiwi Farms.
I mean, the place is notorious, right? For, well, let's just say intense scrutiny of anyone who dares to be an online personality.
The internet's unfiltered gossip mill. So, we're going in with our eyes wide open, ready to sift through it all, see what we can actually learn about Hasan. Why does he get these reactions,
It's a good question. You don't build millions of followers by being boring.
Exactly.
So, for anyone who might not be familiar, Hasan Piker, big-time Twitch streamer, very vocal about politics, he calls himself a progressive socialist, which always gets attention, especially online.
And especially somewhere like Kiwi Farms, where, let's face it, they practically invented the term champagne socialist.
Right.
But before we even get to all that, Hasan, he got his start with the Young Turks, right?
Yeah, the media company founded by, wait for it, his uncle, Cenk Uygur.
Family ties.
And you better believe that connection comes up a lot on the forum.
Oh, I bet. People love a little nepotism angle.
Oh, absolutely. Some users see it as this advantage, a leg up in the industry.
Sure, which, let's be real, not exactly unheard of in media.
True, very true.
But family connections aside, Hasan's got this whole other thing, his Chad Vice segments, right? Where he's giving out life advice, relationship stuff.
Which is interesting, right? Because you've got this fiery political commentator, but then there's this side of him giving, surprisingly normal advice.
Yeah. Like down-to-earth dating tips next to, political revolution.
A fascinating mix.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of fiery political commentators, we got to talk about some of these controversies that have, gotten Hasan into hot water.
Yeah.
America deserved 9/11, that one.
Yes, that comment, which, to be fair, is often taken out of context. It came from a whole conversation he was having about Dan Crenshaw, the congressman from Texas. But the thread on Kiwi Farms, they really zero in on that moment.
It was a huge deal. He was suspended from Twitch for a while, even had to issue an apology on the Young Turks.
And the Kiwi Farms thread, they went through that apology line by line.
Picking it apart.
Questioning if he meant it, bringing up hypocrisy, especially because of his whole socialist stance.
Yeah, because it's one thing to advocate for the working class, but then a statement like that lands very differently for some people.
Exactly. It undercuts the message. And that kind of leads into this other big controversy they highlight, the allegations that he exploited his editor.
Yeah, things get a little messier there.
Right. A former editor accused Hasan of underpaying, overworking. There were even these alleged screenshots of conversations.
Not a good look.
Now, of course, it's just one side of the story. Hasan says it was a misunderstanding. But he did end up paying the editor, which to some might look like an admission of guilt.
Adds fuel to the fire. And it plays right into that hypocrisy narrative, like this guy's out there fighting for workers' rights, but allegedly mistreating his own employee.
It's a contradiction, for sure. And it's not just those big incidents. The thread also dives into these patterns in his behavior. Like, they love to talk about his stun locks.
Stun locks, wait a minute.
So it's their term for when Hasan gets into these arguments, these heated debates in his chat, and it often ends in mass bans.
Oh, so he's shutting down the conversation.
Basically, like he can dish it out but can't take it, according to them. And that plays right into another recurring theme, Hasan as a progressive.
Okay, see, now I've heard that term, but I'm still not 100% sure I get it.
So it's like a critique, right, of a certain type of progressive, usually guys who talk the talk, but maybe their lifestyle doesn't quite match.
So preaching about income inequality, but driving a Tesla.
Exactly. And with Hasan, they point to things like his gym membership, his expensive clothes. It all clashes with the socialist ideal in their eyes.
It's like they're saying, you can't be a true believer if you like nice things.
Right, like there's this purity test. And this all paints this picture, according to the thread, of him being out of touch.
The hypocrisy angle again.
Exactly. But, it's interesting. While the thread is overwhelmingly critical, it's not all completely one-sided. There are these little glimpses of a more nuanced view of him.
Oh, really? Okay, tell me more.
Well, some users, while not necessarily fans, they say that compared to other, left-leaning political commentators, Hasan is actually pretty tame.
So he's like the least problematic of the bunch, at least in their view.
Kind of. And here's the other interesting thing. There's this weird respect, even grudging respect, for his Chad Vice segments.
Wait, even on Kiwi Farms, good advice is good advice.
Apparently, some users actually say he gives good advice even if they hate his political takes. It's pretty fascinating.
The contradictions never end. Okay, so we've got hypocrisy allegations, Dunlock takedowns, progressive accusations, but also, oddly, some compliments on the advice. This is a lot.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. So where do we go from here? What are we supposed to make of all this? So we've got this whole, mixed bag of contradictions when it comes to Hasan Piker, right?
It's a puzzle, isn't it?
We've got the champagne socialist thing, the Stunlock stuff, even those moments of hey, his advice is all right. But the question is, what does it all actually tell us?
Yeah. Does this Kiwi Farms thread, even with all its, let's face it, biases and extremes, does it reveal something real about who Hasan Piker is? Or is it just distortion,
A funhouse mirror version.
Exactly. Because it's easy to get caught up in the drama, right?
Oh, totally. Online pile-ons, they're like their own form of entertainment.
But we got to remember, negativity is like the lifeblood of a place like Kiwi Farms.
It's what they thrive on.
It attracts a certain kind of user, someone who gets off on controversy, on pointing out hypocrisy, even if it means going for the most extreme take.
So how do we filter that? How do we separate actual insights from the noise, the snark, the just plain hate?
It's tricky, right? Constant critical thinking, I'd say.
And a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely. We can't just take everything at face value, especially not from a place known for, well, let's call it an unconventional approach to online discussion.
Right. But even if we take it all with a grain of salt, there's something valuable here, wouldn't you say? Just from an anthropological perspective.
Totally. To see how these online communities form around dissecting, analyzing these public figures.
It's digital anthropology. We're talking rituals, language, belief systems of this very specific online tribe.
And in this case, the tribe is very, very interested in Hasan Piker.
And the intensity is, off the charts.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating how polarizing he is. It's like people either love him or absolutely love to hate him. And that intensity is exactly why he attracts this kind of scrutiny.
He's like a lightning rod for all the culture war stuff happening online.
And because he's so open about his politics, it adds this whole other layer.
It's not just his personality or how he acts online. It's his beliefs, his values. How those values butt up against, what his critics believe.
Exactly, which makes it bigger than just gossip. It reflects how we deal with political disagreements in the internet age.
Right, has the internet just become this giant echo chamber?
Where you only see what you already agree with.
Anyone who challenges that becomes, the enemy.
And the way these platforms are designed, they want engagement.
Even if it's negative engagement.
Exactly. So the most extreme voices, they rise to the top.
So how do we escape that?
Yeah.
As people who, use the internet? How do we navigate this world where truth and lies are all mixed up?
The million-dollar question. There's no easy answer, but I think it starts with being self-aware. Recognizing that we all have biases.
We gravitate towards what we already believe.
Confirmation bias, it's a real thing.
So don't just stay in your little echo chamber.
Right. Go outside your comfort zone, listen to viewpoints you don't agree with, and be open to changing your mind if you see new information.
Because isn't that the point of these deep dives? We're not here to tell you what to think.
We're giving you the information, the context, so you can decide for yourself.
And with Hasan, there's clearly a lot to unpack. He's complex, the online world is complex, there are no easy answers.
Which honestly makes him such a perfect person to deep dive on. He's got it all. Online fame, the line between personal and political, trying to figure out this world where everyone has an opinion and everyone shares it.
So where do we go from here? We've got the criticisms, the controversies, even those weird little compliments from Kiwi Farms. But there's still this big question hanging over everything.
And it's a question that really gets to the heart of Hasan Piker and why he gets this kind of attention.
Okay, all right, I'm hooked. Lay it on me. What's the big question? All right, lay it on me. What's the big question we should be asking ourselves about Hasan Piker after going down this rabbit hole?
Well, going through this Kiwi Farms thread, it really highlights the kind of scrutiny that public figures, especially outspoken ones, they just face constantly online.
And Hasan, he does not hold back on his opinions, which makes him, a bit of a target.
Right, exactly. And it makes you wonder, is this level of scrutiny, this deep dive into every little thing, is it just part of the deal when you're that visible online? Or is it something more, well, kind of insidious?
Because it's one thing to hold someone accountable, but it's another to just pick apart their whole life.
And that's the line, isn't it? Because, yeah, if you put yourself out there, millions of followers, you're going to get some pushback.
Especially now, social media. Everyone's got an opinion, a platform.
But it's tricky because constructive criticism, that's one thing. But the level of, like, just nastiness, personal attacks, that's different.
Yeah, people forget there's an actual person on the other side of the screen.
And where's the line between fair critique and straight-up harassment? It gets blurry fast.
So how do we, I guess, find that balance? How do we hold people accountable without it becoming this, like, massive takedown?
It's the question, right? And it's on all of us, especially online. I think it starts with just thinking about what you're saying.
Remembering words have weight.
Exactly. That throwaway comment, it can have real impact.
Choosing empathy over being outraged, even when it's tempting to jump into the drama.
And maybe, just maybe, remembering that public figures, they're human too. Flaws, complexities, the whole deal.
So well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, Hasan Piker, Kiwi Farms, this whole world of online scrutiny, what's the, key takeaway you hope people leave with?
That nothing's simple, especially online. There are always different sides to the story, nuances that get lost in all the noise.
It's a reminder to stay curious, ask questions, and don't just accept everything you see online as the whole truth.
Be open to being wrong. Because on the internet, information might be power, but empathy. That's what makes it human.
That's a great place to end it.
It really is.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep with us.